work and I've got plans in like 20 minutes. So this will be a quick one. I definitely want to do another video in the future talking a little bit more about the entire process of publishing, like how the idea first came to me and all of that. But this one will kind of be a little bit more of I don't know, a little bit more of a bullet point type video. So I'll just get right into it. So yeah, I published a book, Out of Her Mind, a collection of short works to raise mental health awareness by, sorry, I'm trying to figure out this camera, by Darcy Llewellyn. I did publish under a pseudonym. Um, there's a few reasons for that, so I'll talk about that real quick. So first off, I love the name Darcy, like Mr. Darcy. And I just think Darcy Llewellyn is such a cute name. It also matches my initials. It's actually supposed to be Darcy Jane Llewellyn. J is also my middle initial. I just spaced that. So it's published under Darcy Llewellyn. But I mean, I even have an ISBN number, which is pretty fun to be able to say that. So a bunch of you know that I'm an English major, specifically creative writing. That's my emphasis. But as I've gone throughout the program for the past 3-4 semesters, like 2 years, in every one of my classes, like on the first day of class, they're like, okay, tell us why you're taking this class. What made you decide to go into this major, into this emphasis? And everyone else, is usually like, oh my gosh, I love telling stories. It's so amazing. That's what I want to do with my life. And then I feel like an outsider because that's not why I decided to go into this major, this emphasis. I've gone through a couple of different majors throughout the years, gone to a couple of different schools. I've always known I wanted to go into education somehow. So when I first started school, right after graduating high school, I thought that I was going to be an early childhood education major. I was working at a preschool at the time. And then after working there for a while, I was like, I want to work with kids that are a little bit older, and help them to discover what education is and show them like all the different resources that there are to learn about different things. So I was like, okay, elementary education sounds good to me. So actually when I came here to Dixie, when I transferred, that was my major. And I was in that for one semester, and we went and did a couple of job shadowings. And I actually went to like a middle school, or maybe it was an intermediate school, I don't know. But like 5th to 8th, those types of grades. And I was like, okay, I think I want to do more of this where I just focus in and only teach about, like the literary arts, about English and the language and whatnot. So then I changed my major. So I was an English major and then secondary education emphasis. So I'd also get my teaching license. So I was in that for a semester, or maybe it was 2. So I was in a bunch of classes learning more about the English language, learning about how to teach, and I was so excited. It seemed so great. And then I don't remember what happened, but I started praying. I was like, okay, Heavenly Father, like I've got this going on. I've got this going on. This is like how I see my life going. And straight away he was like, Dolly, like that's a great plan. That's actually not what I have planned for you. So I was like, wait. Sorry. Excuse me, what? And he was like, yeah, you are not going to be an education major. You're just going to be an English major. So I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy. We'll see where this goes. And here at Dixie, there's a couple of different emphases in English that you can do. So like the 2 most popular are professional technical writing, which is great. You can get a ton of jobs with that. And then there's creative writing. Um, so I was like, okay, professional technical writing sounds cool. I'm going to do that. Um, and I was like going to email my advisor and say, hey, I need to switch this over. I'm not going to be a secondary education major anymore. And I promise I will end up talking about my book. I know this seems like quite a backstory. So, and then just a lot of things happened over like the next few days after I had drafted that email. And I realized, like, no, I'm supposed to be a creative writing emphasis. And I'm really glad that I did make that decision and that I did end up taking that route, because just the teachers I've had, the classes I've taken, and the students that have been in those classes, and the things I've been able to write about have really helped like me personally, and also helped me to better see like my vision for life, which I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. Because tomorrow I'm going to talk to you guys about like kind of my life plans, really focusing in on the specific goals that I want to achieve this year. So that'll be exciting. So I write a lot anyways, but I always tell people I don't write to be published. Like, writing is therapeutic for me. My personality type is INFJ, so I'm an introverted, feeling, and judgmental. Not like I judge everyone, but like I can assess the situation. So I like facts, and I like observing people, that type of stuff. So I keep a bunch of different binders around, like this one. This is the memoir that I'm writing, years 1 through 25 of my own life. Don't you just love this title? From Santa's elf to lizard whisperer. That's so cute. So I have a bunch of different binders of just different projects that I have that I'm working on. So like this one I've been working on for quite some time. I think probably since like my senior year of high school. So that's almost 11 years. That makes me feel old, but that's okay. So this is definitely more of like a family history type project, like just something that my family will read, essentially, which is great. So, sorry, this seems scatterbrained. That's kind of how I am. I'm trying to take everything in that's happening right now. You know, with COVID-19, it's affecting a lot of different work and school stuff, which is where I just came from. So I'm just still trying to process all of that while telling you guys stuff and getting text messages from people. Anyways, so every year I make a bucket list of things that I want to do. So on my birthday, I release that list. And it correlates with how old I am. So this year I'm 27. So I had 27 things that I wanted to do. And one of those things was to publish a book. Out of Her Mind is not the book that I had in mind. This was nowhere in my mind. The idea of it wasn't there at all. I've actually been working on a dating book, kind of like a how-to self-help, looking into yourself, really just building your own character and letting that kind of translate into your dating and your other relationships that you have as well. So that's the book that I was really pushing for, that I wanted to publish. I'm also working on a novella. I've got a lot of projects that I'm working on. So I was like, okay, one of these I want to publish before my next birthday. So I was really pushing for like the dating book. And I was like, okay, I had, like a really good outline. A lot of the chapters were already done, and other things that I wanted to include in there as well. And my goal was basically to really focus on that during fall break. So back in October, and then uh, during Christmas break, during holiday break, I wanted to get that manuscript finalized, start reaching out to publishers. I was pretty sure I was going to self-publish that specific book anyways. So I was already looking at publishers, and then it all just came to like a halting stop. Like, no, this is not something that you need to do right now. Like, maybe look at this in the future. So that's actually kind of what I'm looking to do with my capstone senior project for fall semester, is some essentially like a research project looking more into romantic and platonic, I really had to think of that word, non-romantic, platonic relationships, specifically looking at how social media impacts them. So that's something, it's another project that I have going on, another binder that I have. So I have all these things going on, right? And I'm like, how am I going to fulfill this bucket list item? How am I going to publish a book? What's it going to be about? Most of you know, if you've been around for a while or have been following my feed, mental health is something that's really, really important to me, mainly because I have suffered with anxiety and depression. And with that, have had some accompanying other symptoms of diseases and things that impact your life overall. So I had been thinking about that. Fall semester was pretty rough for me. I had a rough roommate situation, a lot of trust issues. Law enforcement was involved. It's a whole big fiasco. If you ever want to know about it, ask me. I'll happily tell you. I'm just not going to publicize on the internet things that happened. But that definitely really has helped me a lot, especially in the past couple of months with my own mental health. So I had been thinking about that. And one of my classes I took last semester was creative nonfiction. So I wrote this story about something that had happened to me. And again, it was very therapeutic for me. And one night after I had been working on it, putting some updates into that story, I tried to go to bed and I just couldn't fall asleep at all. Like, it was a weeknight. I had classes the next morning, I think at like 10 a.m. So I was like, I need to sleep. I can't not sleep. I can't stay up or like be restless or whatever. So after being in bed for like half an hour, 45 minutes, not being able to fall asleep, I just got up, went into the bathroom, and I had, I think it was my phone. I know you're not supposed to like turn on your phone, use screens if you're trying to fall asleep, but sometimes that works for me. So I was just chilling out, and just thoughts started pouring into my head, and I just started making a note of all these different stories, like these poems, short stories, short essays that I wanted to write that dealt with mental illness. So essentially, I wrote the outline of my book. I wrote the outline of Out of Her Mind. And then once I got that down, I was completely exhausted. Like, as soon as I got that last bullet point, I was like, okay, Heavenly Father, I'm exhausted. Like, I've been in here for half an hour typing stuff out. Like, I need to go to sleep so I can function at school and at work tomorrow. And so I went back into my room and was able to fall asleep like so quick. So then over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, I started writing more. So like every couple of days, I would pull up that note on my phone and I'd be like, okay, I need to work on a poem about this, or a short essay about this topic. So everything just really started coming together. And let me tell you, there were tons and tons of drafts of each of the pieces within the book. Once I got everything kind of lined out, I was like, okay, I can just go. No, there were, I think, at least 6 or 7 drafts um, that I went through of like the manuscript as a whole. And even then, there was actually 1 or 2 pieces in here. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Because, yeah, there are 1 or 2 pieces in here that when I had originally written the book and done the entire manuscript, and essentially I was ready to send it off and format it to be published, like 1 or 2 of these pieces were not written yet, like this one. This is called Confrontation. Borders pushed, far past where they're supposed to go. Ready to report, so this can be stopped. If not overall corrected, at the very least, addressed. Yeah, that came about because of something that happened in a class one day, and I very much felt like it needed to be in that book. And I'm very happy that it is. I think that's actually the very last thing I wrote in that book. And a lot of that was really hard. Like, you'll usually hear people say blood, sweat, and tears go into their projects and to their books. Like, it's no joke. Like, literally, this showcases a lot of my mental health journey with my depression, my anxiety. Like, it's rough. So definitely not for the faint of heart if you want to read this. And I don't know, I think the reason it was really hard for me to write is because it's super vulnerable. Because I do touch on a lot of different topics. I haven't necessarily experienced everything in here, but I know others who have, and I've talked to them and said, hey, I've, written this poem about whatever, insert mental illness here. I haven't experienced it. Will you read it and let me know if I'm accurately portraying it? Whether that be through emotions or like physical actions. So this book is PG-13, for sure. Just with some of the wording of things, can be a little bit more. I don't want to say graphic, but you kind of get the image in your head. But let's talk about this real quick. Anorexia and bulimia, they can definitely stem from mental health, from mental illness. So I do address that in this book. I address anorexia. I address bulimia. Like, bulimia, you can't sugarcoat what that is. You kind of have to talk about it. So this is not for children. This is for older teenagers, for any adults, really. So yeah, vulnerability is really what held me back with this. I wasn't sure what all I was going to share with you guys in this, because like I said, this is going to be shorter. But I do want to read a quote that really pushed me over. Well, okay, here's one of the quotes, and then I'll share something else. This is by Rupi Kaur. But what is stronger than the human heart? Super simple. What is stronger than the human heart? I don't know. What is stronger than the human heart? I really don't know. Where is it? I tried to have everything pulled up before I got on to talk with you guys. But okay, here we go. So a while ago, I just saw on some social media site, someone had put, "What will people think has killed more dreams than failure ever will?" Um, so I really just kind of sat back and thought about that. And then I made a post in response. And I said, this is one of the first thoughts that entered my head when God told me to write a book about mental health and some of my experiences with it. That book is published now. I still wonder what people will think when they read it, but I'm glad that I wrote it and that it is now out there because I was able to learn more about myself and about the publishing process. That book is far, far, far from perfect, y'all. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I have another copy of this book that is just completely marked up with like spelling errors. Like one of my stories in here, one of my poems, I accidentally put space in a weird part. So there's one line that says hat, but it's supposed to say that. So that's interesting. But for me, it's really been, I can do hard things. Like, this is a baby-sized book. It's 48 pages. It's a baby. But I've gone through the process once of self-publishing. I figured out, like, I've researched different self-publishers, the different benefits that they offer, the prices they offer, how quickly the shipments get to you. I did all of the formatting for the book myself. So that was a lot to learn as well. But essentially, I learned so much from this experience, from, obviously experiencing the things that I did, that inspired me to write this book, the process of writing each of the different poems, short stories, etc., putting it together, starting to do some advertising. Like, I only ordered 25 copies of this book because I know it's not a bestseller. And I know not a ton of people need or want to read it. And that's okay. I think I've sold five copies of these. And then I'm keeping 2 for myself. One, kind of like in pristine condition so I can take it. And if anyone ever asks, I can be like, yeah, I wrote a book. Look, here's my blank copy. Like no smudges or anything on it. And then I have my other copy that is completely covered in notes of things that I would change about it. There are quite a few, mainly, spelling, first tense, that type of thing. But it's been a really cool process, I guess. There is a second book that will eventually come. I have been talking with a couple of different publishers, and we're exploring the idea of a longer book that specifically talks about the science behind mental illness, like chemical imbalances in the brain, the amygdala, that type of stuff. Definitely. I've done a ton of research on all of those things. So I'm very, very interested to see how that goes down. That's not going to happen anytime soon, but maybe in 2021. That is something that I will explore. This video is definitely longer than I expected. It doesn't cover the things that I expected to talk about, but that's okay. Because I ended up talking about other things that I was just happy to get out there. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you have any questions about my book, about the process, drop me a comment. I'll probably sometime eventually, I don't know when, I will do a video over on my Darcy Llewellyn, I want to say fan page, my Darcy Llewellyn business page, talking more about this. I might even do like a live reading of a couple of these, something in the future. Let me know. Would you guys be interested in that? Do you follow my Darcy Llewellyn fan page? It's okay if you don't. I'm just, starting this out, just growing, taking tiny, tiny baby steps. Um, I do have copies of this book. If you're interested in them, in purchasing one, let me know, and I'll get you the information for that. So that's kind of wrapping this up. So tomorrow is something I'm so excited for. I'm definitely, it's going to sound a little bit silly. I'm going to have to plan for this one. I'm going to have to like give myself a script of what to talk about. So it's not as long as the video and it's not as scatterbrained as this one. Because tomorrow I'm going to talk about my life plans for the rest of the year. Like an overall life plan. I might, talk briefly about like where I see myself in 5 years, where I see myself in 2 years, but really focusing on the goals that I have for the rest of the year. And with that, I'm so excited to announce I got myself a little bullet journal. I do have a few things in here so far, mostly quotes. I got a little Gandalf quote there. Yep. So that should be fun. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow about that. If you stuck around for this entire video, thank you so much. You guys are great supporters. Even if you just liked this video, didn't comment, didn't stick around for the entire thing, that is totally cool. Thank you so much. I almost have to sneeze. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Well, I hope you guys are having a good, safe time. Later this week, I will talk about how COVID-19 is affecting my life. I think that's my Thursday video, because I actually am not in isolation. This weekend, I actually didn't see anyone for like 72 hours, which was kind of crazy to me. But I am working, so I'll give you guys an update on that later. Tomorrow, we'll talk about plans and goals. See you later, guys.